Jorge Masvidal, he shines when he's put on that big stage. I mean, what he did with Cowboy, and now what he did with Darren Till. I mean, is it his time now? I mean, let's talk about that fight.
Yeah, it's definitely his time now, and I think he's realizing that. All the way through fight week, he was walking around with this swagger, this confidence that, I didn't see that from Tyron Woodley in the build-up to the Darren Till fight. So that in itself was quite a statement. He was just so comfortable in himself, and I think, he's got to that stage of his career where he's had, 40 or 50 fights now. He knows who he is as an individual. He knows what he's capable of. A win or a loss, like in the circumstance with Volkan, is not going to affect him nearly as much because, he knows he's good, he knows he's talented, and he knows that, as you said earlier, the errors in this sport can be so minute and you can end up on the other side of a really bad knockout. And Masvidal was very accepting of that, which is why he was able to take the risks that he did in the fight. But, with that confidence comes momentum, and I think carrying that momentum into his next fight, which is now looking like it's got to be Leon Edwards, I'm just excited to watch him. I'm really plugged into Masvidal's career because he's always been a good fighter, even back in the street fighting days. But you see him now; he's finding his rhythm in the octagon, and he looks like a real threat.
And Till looked very good in the first round too. He knocked him down. I mean, for Masvidal, it didn't start off well at all. I mean, the flying kick he tried, he kicked him in the balls. They had to stop. So that was kind of a miscue. And then he gets knocked down. So it looked like it was going to go very poorly for him. And I guess that's all that experience of all those fights is just being able to kind of regroup and not panic and just go down the toilet.
Yeah. Again, like you said, that is fight experience and maturity. Some of the fighters, they could have started down a slippery slope at that point, starting to question themselves and second guess what they were doing. And, maybe this is not my night. I don't feel on tonight. I don't feel sharp. Masvidal just, kept going with a smile. Like as he was landing, as Till landed that first that first left hand, as he was landing, he was already reacting to it. He was already wooing and laughing.
Yeah.
That if you can maintain that mentality, that is a strength that is, it's an undeniable strength in combat sports.
I remember seeing, because I was concerned when he knocked him down, he got on top of him, and he was using his legs to create distance, so he wasn't getting smashed. And he was smiling. I believe he said something to him also, Masvidal. So I'm like, oh, he's clear-headed already. He's cool, and he's in a horrible position, but he's just level-headed. And then when he worked his way back up, it's like he just resets and he gives a little smile and he goes back in there. That's a dude that's made for it. And know what I liked? I liked what he afterwards, was very classy in his post-fight speech. And I like when he pointed out, he goes, look, man, he goes, he's 24, I'm 34. Like I need this now. He doesn't need, not that Darren Till doesn't need it, but he has time to mature into a, into a future champion where Masvidal's like, yo, man, I got kids. He's like, I need to get this shit now.
Yeah, and that's just kind of paints a picture of who Masvidal is, and the fans responded to it. Obviously the arena was partial to Darren Till on the night, as you would imagine.
Yeah.
But in his post-fight interview and the credit that he gave Darren Till, you can just hit the change in mood in the arena. Everybody warmed to him immediately. You can tell the kind of person that he is. He's genuine. He's one of the realists in the sport.
Yeah.
And that comes across on the mic as well as in his fighting style. It doesn't matter where he goes. People are going to love him. He might be against the hometown hero, but afterwards and before, the fans are still going to love him. And we saw that throughout fight week, open workouts and stuff.
Now, give me your thoughts on that altercation. And do you know, because you hear some of it, but when he said, say it to my face, what did he say? Because there was something about July, and then he said, maybe, maybe not. I mean, I didn't like that he tried to interrupt
interview, yeah.
Yeah, these guys let him have his glory, man. He was main event. He just took care of business. But do you know what he said to him that made him want to walk over to him?
Yeah, so as I was leaving the arena to head backstage, I actually walked past Masvidal and his team, and they were surrounded by security in the arena, but after the fans had left. So, that was immediately unusual. I heard there'd been a bit of an altercation backstage, and as I walked past, I saw the team, and I was like, oh, clearly Masvidal got involved. So I leaned over, and I kind of, moved the security and was like, talking to him about what had happened. And he said, hey, I was doing my interview with ESPN. As Leon Edwards walked past, he shouted, how about July? And Masvidal's reply was maybe, maybe not. And then Leon said something, shut your mouth, you full of shit, or something like that.
Yeah.
And then Masvidal said, hey, say that to my face. And that's kind of where the video picks it up, where you see Masvidal kind of, cutely strolling over with his hands behind his back, and then delivers the three-piece and a soda.
He cut him too. He cut him on the eye.
My official stance is terrible for the sport. We don't want to see this kind of thing from the athletes.
Yep.
My fan perspective, I love it. I can't wait to see that fight.
Yeah, it really. And Edwards, of course, is not pressing charges because it really does make that fight the one. It was kind of like when Usman and Covington are going back and forth. These guys genuinely hate each other's guts, and now it looks like they're going to fight, and that just makes people want to see it.
Yeah, sells tickets. It's a part of the narrative. We love it.
Yeah, and it's kind of weird that Leon didn't get cut in the fight at all with the dangerous gunner Nelson, and then he got cut up with that three-piece. Skin on skin's a different thing, man.
Sure.
Listen. Dan Hardy's got more confidence. Dan Hardy, I don't know why I'm saying his full name.
I don't know.
I miss him. I haven't seen the guy in ages.
Yes, Matt Serra would like to ask you a question.
My question is the reptile. Tell me about your podcast. That's the question.
Well, we've got a couple running at the moment. I mean, we've stopped one. We had 3 podcasts, 3 episodes of Listen with myself and Mark Goddard. But the weekly one we have running is Full Reptile Radio, and that is myself and usually my good friend Owen Oxley. We just talk through the fights that have happened and what's coming up. We've actually just recorded this week's episode now. And then, every now and then I'll have a guest on with me as well. Like last week we had a guy called Ross Edgley on, who's he actually just swam around the UK. And try and get your mind around that. He spent 158 days at sea.
Jesus, man.
The guy's a maniac. Every now and then I'll get a guest on. But, yeah, for the most part, it's me and Owen talking nonsense about UFC fights.
Did he get fucked over by jellyfish? The woman who's trying to swim from...
That's the one.
Oh, that who you're talking about?
What'd he do?
Wrapped around his face. His eye sockets swelled up so much that he had to punch his goggles into his face to make the seal happen. Lunatic.
Wait, who's the person that had... Who are you talking about?
Ross Edgley.
Oh, no, I'm thinking about a woman. This happened to a woman who swam either from Cuba to the U.S. or she did some crazy long swim like that. But jellyfish are what kept fucking her up, is she would get attacked by a bunch of jellyfish.
Diana Nayad's.
Oh, that's who it is. Yeah.
Fucking jellyfish.
Where was she swimming? Was it across
Cuba to Florida?
Oh, it's Cuba to Florida. Okay, yeah, the jellyfish are what did her in. So he punched the goggles because his face was so swollen.
Yes, yeah. So basically, he was stung by jellyfish all the way throughout the swim, but this particular one was really, really bad. And when he stopped in the water, he shouted up to the captain who was manning the ship, the boat that followed him around, and he said, "Hey, this sting that I've had under my face is really bad." And the captain shouts back, "That's because the tentacle's still wrapped around your face." And he managed to get this jellyfish tentacle wrapped around his face and tangled into his goggles as he was swimming.
Jimmy loves when there's testicles wrapped around his... Oh, tentacles, you said. Oh, you said tentacles?
Yes.
Oh, Jimmy, I thought he said... Never mind. Listen, man, we can talk all day jellyfish.
I want to know one more question about the jellyfish. How did he finally... Did he just peel it off?
Yeah. He just basically pulled it off and put his goggles back on, but that's when he had to punch him into his face. The guy's a lunatic. Have a look at his story. He's got a book out. It's amazing.
And what do you think of Bisping, who being inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame?
Oh, I think it's great. I mean, you look at his career and the amount of fighters that he's influenced, the amount of people on the UFC roster that grew up watching Bisping and were inspired to have a go, particularly in Europe. I think it's great, and he is the consummate underdog. Every time he fights, pretty much you expect the other guy to win, and he got a title shot, and nobody expected him to beat Rockhold again, and it was a Cinderella story with a lot of downs, a lot of very, very low points.
Sure.
But the high points were so dramatic that you just had to be invested.
And he's one of the most entertaining guys in the sport. I mean, just as a person, who doesn't like Michael Bisping?
Oh, I love it. Especially in that.
He's always got something interesting to say.
I like when they went into the center of the cage to do the the last minute the fighter introductions with the ref, and he goes, you want to touch hands, do it now. And then Luke was saying that when they come out, motion them to him like we're not going to touch. He's like, oh, we're not going to touch. Oh, I'll touch you in a minute, buddy. What did he say? I'll touch you. We actually have to play it, but it was actually I'm going to be touch you in a minute, motherfucker, something like that. I love Michael Bisping.
Yeah.
Oh, he's hysterical.
Very enjoyable man.
one of my favorite parts of his career was obviously the Rockhold victory. Yeah. But I think he's the only fighter that's ever ran and climbed the octagon fence and then looked back into the octagon instead of out. Everybody always, they run up, they scream out to the crowd, and they're really happy. Michael Bisping runs up, climbs the octagon fence, and then he turns around to Luke Rockhold, points at him, and he just goes, F you.
He's not a great winner. He's so funny as a winner. I remember he did the same thing to Matt Hamill. The guy's like the nicest guy, and it was almost like it was a close decision when he fought him, and Matt Hamill was taking him down. He was getting up, and then he won. And then you think he'd be gracious, and Mike Bisping's just like, it's not fucking wrestling. He's fucking shitting on him. I fucking love it. For anybody else, you'd hate him, but when he does it, it's just, I don't know. I love it.
And one more question.
He always does it while he's laughing.
Yeah, it's great.
And just before we let you go, Dan, Poirier is going to be calling in a little bit later and talk about 236 and the fight against Max Holloway. What do you think about that matchup?
Oh, it's a fascinating one. It really is, because I think both of these guys are really going to find their feet in this division. I think they're going to be more comfortable at this weight. Certainly Max Holloway, I think his time to move up has come from what we've seen of his last couple of weigh-ins. Poirier, I think the same. After that loss to McGregor, he moved up a weight class and has just looked great ever since. I think that these guys are two of the most exciting in the sport. I think Max Holloway is going to be difficult to back up for Poirier. He's probably going to lead Poirier to do a lot of counter-punching, trying to come over the top. But I also won't be surprised if we see Poirier, leaning on his wrestling a lot more. He's got a lot.
Up, Dan?
Well,
we lost you, buddy.
Is he there?
He's still on.
Is he on?
Yeah.
He might have walked into another room or something.
Yep.
All right.
He is across the pond.
Yep. Well, maybe he just got bored with us and hung up.
Yeah, he might have said,
He's like, fuck those guys.
Okay, I'll hang up and then I'll call him right back.
All right,
Oh, yeah.
man. That's fun. I like me some Dan Hardy.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
He's a good man.
It happens.
Ali
Abdelaziz, he's Kamaru's manager. And,
Ali?
He said about Masvidal's win over Till, he said, we think Jorge Masvidal deserves the next title shot, not Colby Covington. Colby's a terrible person and doesn't deserve it. Jorge just knocked out Till like that. He should be next. I disagree. And look, I know Colby is not popular and maybe he's an asshole. He won the interim title.
Man. Tell him.
And I know he didn't take the fucking Woodley fight because he had something medical. Fair enough. He should have taken it, but he did. It was a medical reason. He didn't hold out for money. He didn't. He won the interim title.
I'm feeling it, man. Make it a song, man.
I mean, it has to be.
Come on, Ali. Wait, hold on. You ever see come on, Ali? Yeah, it should be Colby. Yeah, like we got something going. You ever hear come on, Ali?
You're not going to come on, Eileen?
You're not going to come on, Eileen. It's come on, Eileen. Is it come on, Eileen?
It's come on, Eileen. Yeah,
right?
Yes.
So let's fuck around with that. Ready?
No, let's do it after. Let's do it while we're walking.
Yeah, why don't you just address his point? I think you're right. I mean,
shit.
Well, also the Kamaru-Colby fight is such an
much
easy
more
sell.
interesting.
Listen, I love Ali, but come on, dude, you're not a matchmaker.
He's just pissed off. The bottom line is this: you don't have to be a nice guy to get the fucking title that you've earned, the title shot, I should say, that you've earned by winning the interim belt. He fought RDA, beat him. That's the bottom line. There has to be some order to this.
Listen.
It can't just be random. It cannot just be a popularity contest. It cannot just be who has the last good win.
Listen.
Masvidal was amazing. Good for him. He knocked Darren Till out the way fucking Ngannou knocked out Alistair Overeem. It was a beautiful, beautiful knockout. Colby Covington, I'm not crazy about him, but the bottom line is he fucking deserves the title shot, and you can't make it a popularity contest when the guy was the interim champion. Then what's the use of having these interim belts? They should stop having these interim belts if they're not going to be honored. I think that he deserves the shot.
I feel that Ali and Usman just hate's a strong word. They dislike Colby so much. They just don't want to give him a payday, basically.
Yeah,
that's why he's
hate
saying,
him. Yeah.
and not for anything. Not that Jorge would be an easier fight. I think Jorge's a beast.
I think he's a better matchup
but
for
as far
Usman.
yes, because of the grappling aspect, where even if he gets out of that thing clean, he might lose on takedowns. So, where coming from the wrestling background, Colby's got a very good wrestling background. Whether he's a tool or not, the guy's a good fighter.
He's a really good fighter, and he's a
so-
smothering fighter. And he's a very, very aggressive guy. I think he absolutely deserves the next shot.
Did you say something to insult Chris, the producer?
No.
Why'd he leave?